Yes. Well, there were days and there were games that were really good.
Mm-hmm.
There were games that were really bad. And we are here to talk about it all, good, bad, otherwise. It is the week 3 recap here on the Audible. And I'm thinking about Yoda right now,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Bloom, because when Yoda described Luke Skywalker, in a way, I think he was describing Josh Allen when he said, "You are reckless." Well, Josh Allen is reckless and undefeated. Buffalo Bills 35-32 over the LA Rams. Rams fans laughing or complaining about pass interference calls. That's cute. That's really cute, Bloom. Well, let's talk about Jared Goff going 23-32, 321 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 INT in this day. It was Robert Woods, 5 for 74 and a touch. Cooper Kupp, 9 for 107 and a touch. Josh Reynolds with 4 for 60. Tyler Higbee, 2 for 40. Gerald Everett, 2 for 34. Darrell Henderson, 20 for 114 and 1 touchdown. Also, Jared Goff had a rushing touchdown to aid his fantasy day, but it was not enough as they fall short in the end.
We're starting right with the main course here, Cease. This was an incredible game. What a journey this game was. A couple of games like that today. So the real story coming into this one was neither of these teams had faced what we would consider a credible defense. They both presented credible defenses, and we were going to learn more about these offenses in this game. Obviously, learn more about these teams. The Rams, well, the Bills were playing kind of bend but don't break defense in the first half. Regardless, when you can do that against Jared Goff, against these play calls, you're going to be successful. And this game was 28-3 at one point. So if you're fading Goff, you're fading Woods, you're fading Kupp, Woods against Tre'Davious White, you're fading this Rams offense. Darrell Henderson looked good in the first half, but otherwise, you were looking great. I mean, that was the right call. See, this is just like a season in a game where you can be right for the wrong reasons, wrong for the right reasons, right for the right reasons. The Bills are going to handle the Rams. The Rams are not facing the Eagles this week. The Rams are not facing the Cowboys this week. They're not facing an NFC least defense. Then, shades of the wild card game from last year, Cease. Bills get up big. We got this. 28-3, and everything starts to come unraveled. And then your numbers rack up for Woods. Your numbers rack up for Kupp. Your numbers rack up for Goff. And these are all good plays. It was kind of a garbage time points, but then the next thing you look up at the scoreboard, and the Rams were leading. All the while, Darrell Henderson looking great, by the way, getting the lion's share of the carries, looking like he deserves it, really giving them something to think about. I mean, see, if they could have seen in their crystal ball Henderson playing like this in week 3 of 2020, would they have drafted Cam Akers? I don't know. Then, like you said, there's a pass interference call. Well, sometimes the scales just balance out. But the scales, a lot of gold on the Josh Allen side of those scales. Folks got those MVP bets in early. And again, see, just like that first game of the year with Josh Allen, a game that shows you just how good he can be, but a game that shows you how he and his team have an Achilles heel if they want to get to the next level.
Achilles heels abound, but with Josh Allen, okay, kid, calm down a little bit, all right? Getting some penalties, drawing a face mask there on Justin Hollins at the end of the game, and you thought after that play, Bloom, didn't you think, man alive, okay, they just shot their chance. It's done. It's over. And then pass interference, Bills get one, and Tyler Kroft gets in the end zone. But Josh Allen going nuts. 4 touchdowns, 1 INT in this one, 311 yards there, 4 for 8 and a rushing touchdown. Devin Singletary all by himself, pretty much for the most part, with no Zach Moss. 13 for 71 in this contest, and then 4 for 50 as a receiver. You're going to take that in PPR leagues. Cole Beasley, 6 for 100. Gabriel Davis, 4 for 81. And then Tyler Kroft, couple of TDs. Stephon Diggs, 4 for 49 and a touchdown. And Lee Smith, TD Lee. Not quite Lee Suggs, but Lee Smith, 1 for 1 and 1 touchdown. Nobody started him. But you started Josh Allen. You're pretty happy with the results.
Yeah, if you drafted Josh Allen, you're happy. If you're a Bills fan, you're happy. You're happy just because, look, Allen's game has taken a big step up this year. But in this game, where everything came easy for him, still, they had to get that final push at the end. Allen's one interception wasn't even a real interception. It was actually a nice deep ball to Tyler Kroft on an improvised play that Kroft had stolen away from him. But Allen also, you see it in his game. He puts everything on his shoulders sometimes. That's why Aaron Donald can just engulf him. And as the game got closer, you saw some of that invincibility potion that he thinks he drank before the game wearing off. Now, he still made the plays. He converted a 3rd and 22 on the last drive. He thinks he can do anything, and he's continuing to show the world that he can. Devin Singletary looked good as a lead back. However, he had 2 chances at the goal line, looked small, got stuffed. He just doesn't create a lot of momentum as a runner. And while he looked good evading tackles in the open field, that's not his game. You also saw touchdowns. What was it? Reggie Gillum last week, Cease, Lee Smith. I think he leads offensive tackles. He's an offensive tackle as far as I'm concerned. All-time touchdowns. Tyler Kroft got 2 touchdowns, including the game winners. And you're looking at Dawson Knox now when he comes back. And then you also had in this game, John Brown got hurt. Calf injury. Man. But Gabriel Davis looks good. And Gabriel Davis was doing things before John Brown got hurt. But obviously, if Brown's out, now we'll talk about this on the waiver wire show. Because Josh Allen, Josh Allen turns to gold in the passing game. I mean, that's what it looked like after this one. This is a really fun, interesting team. And they're going to face a Las Vegas team next week that's pretty weary. So again, 3-0 start, feeling good, but there's still room to improve.
There is room to improve if you are the Las Vegas Raiders, because the Patriots at 36-20, the final score. They are 2-1. Raiders are now 2-1 as well. Derek Carr going 24-32, 261 yards, 2 touchdowns, no INTs. Hunter Renfrow was 6 for 84 and a touch. Brian Edwards, 2 for 48 here. Nelson Aguilar, 2 for 32. Foster Moreau gets 2 for 25 and a touch. Okay, there you go. Darren Waller, 100 yards, and then 2 for 9 in this one. And Henry Ruggs not in this box score, of course. Josh Jacobs, though, 16 for 71. When he's not fumbling, don't fumble. Of course, that helped out the Patriots a lot. Those fumbles, multiple from Jacobs and Carr, and the Raiders fall short.
It was just an ugly game. And, well, the Cam Newton Patriots, that's their kind of game. Right, the Raiders come in, and Darren Waller could have had a touchdown here. Was thrown, tipped away from him, but otherwise Bill Belichick took him away. Josh Jacobs getting a lot of work, but the Patriots aren't going to be a pushover. He also had a fumble in the red zone. There was a strip sack of Carr early. Look, the Raiders were trading blows back and forth with the Patriots in the first half of this game, and then you could just see them just get tired. You did see Hunter Renfrow with no Henry Ruggs out there, with Brian Edwards getting hurt in this one, with Darren Waller being taken away. Renfrow had a nice contested catch on a long ball, and then Moreau got that touchdown. Later, he got a garbage time touchdown. So that's something interesting we'll talk about on the waiver wire show. The Raiders had high hopes coming into this game. Measure up, see where you're at against the Patriots. They fell short. They can say, hey, we had some key parts of our offense out with Henry Ruggs there, and then Edwards getting hurt too. But they turn around and they play Buffalo next week. So you see where you measure up again. And the Patriots, I just again feel like Cam Newton is such a good fit for how this team likes to win games.
They like to win by suffocating you with what you can't stop. Basically, it's like, what do you not do well? Let's just keep doing that. As you saw in this contest, 38 rushes for 250 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns, both by Rex Burkhead. Cam Newton with only 28 passing attempts, 17 to 28, 162 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 INT. Rex Burkhead gets all the touchdowns because he had 7 for 49 and that receiving touchdown. N'Keal Harry, 2 for 34. I mean, is it even worth going over the receivers?
Yeah, right.
Julian Edelman, 2 for 23, right? Okay, so there's one, and then you look at Sony Michel, 9 for 117 on the ground. Burkhead, 6 for 49 of those 2 rushing touchdowns. JJ Taylor, 11 for 43 in this contest. But that's what the Patriots do: swarm around you, get the ball, and then run the ball down your throat because you can't stop it.
All I want to do is the zoom, 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 and the boom, boom.
Come shake your rump.
Yeah, Rex in effect, man.
Oh,
Come
yeah.
on. We can remember that. It was Rex in effect.
Rump shaker.
Yeah, the rump shaker.
Mm-hmm.
That was like the golden age of posterior oriented music. Miami bass scene. Let's go off on a little tangent here. Rex Burkhead, you love seeing it. I mean, he plays all out. The problem with Rex Burkhead has never been quality of play. It's just opportunity and staying healthy. He got the opportunity with James White. Again, our heart goes out to James White. And you had a feeling, again, Newton with the 4 rushing touchdowns. Was there a correction coming here? Thought maybe it'd be Sony Michel, who actually looked pretty good and broke away on a few runs. So he's got a pulse, just as Damian Harris is about to come back also. But it was Rex Burkhead getting it done in the passing game, getting it done at the goal line. And then, like you said, was a comfortable win where they were winning going away in the second half. They were able to really put their foot on the Raiders' throat, run defense-wise, and you didn't see Edelman and Harry, Demir Bird, et cetera, rack up the stats. You didn't see Cam Newton rack up the stats. This is going to be the ride. If you had Cam Newton when he was a Panther, this ride with him. If he doesn't need to do a lot, he's not necessarily going to be a prolific passer when his team is playing from ahead. And maybe next week, Cease, they won't be playing from ahead against those Kansas City Chiefs. Another treat coming up on the schedule.
Treats coming up except for Thursday night. It's awful. Broncos are so awful. It is a Broncos show, but let's first talk Browns and Washington. 34-20 is the final score. Washington's 1-2. Browns are 2-1. And Dwayne Haskins, people even in the chat room saying bench Haskins, right? Okay, well, waiver wire conversations coming up on Tuesday morning right here on this YouTube channel. Make sure to check us out. Antonio Gibson, 9 for 49 and a rushing touchdown. Okay, that's as a runner, 3 for 11 as a receiver. So not the breakout game that you wanted, but 49 yards and a touchdown. If you had him as a what the heck flex, you'll take that. Terry McLaurin, 4 for 83 in this one. Dontrell Inman, who nobody started, 3 for 38 and 2 touchdowns. There's a change at quarterback. You wonder if that continues or not. Logan Thomas, 4 for 31. J.D. McKissick, 3 for 37. I'm talking about people that nobody started, Bloom. So let's talk about whether or not Washington will make a change at quarterback after Haskins' 3-interception game.
If you want to see a game sketched out that merits the hook, this would be that game. Haskins' interceptions were not good, and they were the difference in the game. Every time Washington would turn the ball over, Cleveland would score easily on a short field. When will we see Kyle Allen? We'll see. Next week it's Baltimore. And Cease, don't you think that they do give Haskins, here's another chance against Baltimore? They're setting him up.
Right.
But, I mean, this is what happens when you change a regime the year after you take a quarterback in the first round. You usually do the other way around, right?
Right.
The regime, you let them pick their quarterback. They may end up picking their quarterback anyway. Cleveland's run defense is decent. They held Antonio Gibson in check. He's still a raw running back. You still see oozing with physicality. Did get the touchdown in this one. But as long as this offense is dysfunctional, as it will continue to be, probably even with Kyle Allen as quarterback, then Gibson's not going to come close to hitting his ceiling. Terry McLaurin, also this game, if you're going to say anything to bail out Haskins here, there was a terrible offensive pass interference call on Terry McLaurin that really hurt their momentum at a moment they were trying to get a comeback going. And Terry McLaurin looks great. He gets open in the corner of the end zone. Haskins overthrows him. So if there's more there, maybe Kyle Allen, if he does get put in at some point this year, sooner than later, can help out McLaurin. Dontrell Inman gets both touchdowns, but also gets hurt. Logan Thomas has shown us who he is. He's going to be like 4 for 28, 4 for 31, 4 for 33. Maybe he'll give you a touchdown. So, he's that in case of emergency break glass tight end, not necessarily upside. And again, Washington, one of the 2 teams in the division that actually has a win. They're facing Baltimore next week, so Dallas should be feeling good.
All right. Browns are feeling good. That's for sure. And as our guy Brandon says, Chubb is a beast. That is for sure. Let's talk about Nick Chubb. 19 for 108, 2 rushing touchdowns on the day, and 1 for 2 as a receiver. Kareem Hunt, he had 16 for 46 on the ground, and then 2 for 18 and a receiving touchdown there. Odell Beckham Jr., 4 for 59. Jarvis Landry, 4 for 36. Austin Hooper, 3 for 25. It was Harrison Bryant getting in the end zone as Baker Mayfield extends the play. Went to 16 to 23, 156 yards, 2 touchdowns, no INTs. So the Browns feeling good after this victory. Fantasy GMs with ODB or Landry, maybe Hooper, Bloom, although I don't know of many people that were really starting Hooper. But either way, you're starting any of these guys not named Nick Chubb, you're pretty disappointed.
Yeah, and I think that this is, again, an example. We talked about this a little bit earlier this week. There's no in-between for the Cleveland offense. And that means that, or the Cleveland team, really, if they can get a game on track, their running game is going to really start wearing down the opponent. It's going to set up Baker Mayfield for some easy completions, but volume is going to be low. So, again, Austin Hooper, Jarvis Landry. See, so we talked about it during Shut 'em Down last week about Jarvis Landry. We know he's a good player. We know if the opportunity is there, he's going to produce. Are we going to play the opportunity guessing game with him? Next week it's Dallas. So, okay, maybe hold on to Landry for one more week. I don't know why you're holding on to Hooper. I guess because the tight end caught a touchdown. It wasn't Hooper. It was Harrison Bryant. But you give Landry one more week against Dallas. Dallas' defense is horrid. Beckham is like a wide receiver 3 or a flex play. He had one that he was open deep. Mayfield underthrew him. Beckham had to turn into defensive back and just broke it up. Now,
and then he did the finger wag like Dikembe.
Right, which is nice. He's keeping himself interested. I mean, you have to, right? I mean, but the thing is, Beckham's just not going to be a ceiling play as long as this is going on again. Now, next week. But the thing is, Cease, if Dallas forces Cleveland out of their comfort zone, getting into the preview already, right? Then you're really going to want 12 or 13 frantic Mayfield targets. Is that going to be better than 4 for 59? Was it better in week 1? It really wasn't, right? I don't know if it was that many targets, but you get it. Chubb scored those touchdowns after interceptions. And you just see, man, watching Nick Chubb, I just almost literally ache for the guys that have to tackle him. It's not fun. It's like, Lendell White had some turbo in the tank, right?
Not tequila.
Right.
Tequila and weed, always an interesting mix from my man Lendell, who always smells like the sweetest Chiba. Like if Lendell White drives through your neighborhood, you can tell. Although it's Colorado, it smells like weed everywhere here. But anyway,
that's why it's like once a year I bring up Lendell White, Cease, one of your original true loves, one of the original motorboats. Kareem Hunt still did something. Kareem Hunt is pulling a rabbit out of a hat in terms of fantasy opportunity and fantasy production. He did get the carries to end the game, but Washington's defense was more stout. By the way, we were going into this game thinking, okay, we saw week 1, Philly, a porous offensive line. Obviously, Philly's offense is subpar this year. Washington's defensive line very disruptive. Washington's defensive line, harassed Kyler Murray some, but Murray had the last laugh. Last week, what were they going to do against a tough running team? Chase Young gets hurt almost right away.
Yeah.
So we really didn't get a good test case on that. Otherwise this offense is like a yawner. At the same time, you're 2-1, 3 games in the NFL. You're happy. I mean, these games are wars. So Cleveland, even though we don't think of them as a team that's really turning things around this year, because Baltimore beat them so soundly, and they've beaten the Bengals and Washington. Well, you got to win the easy ones if you're going to get anywhere. Dallas next week is not going to be an easy one.
No, not at all. Texans and Steelers, not an easy one on our heartstrings, Bloom, because as this game was going on, I was like, oh, Tomlin's going to do this. Mm-hmm. He's seriously going to do this. He's seriously going to. Okay, they came back and won 28-21, but still, Steelers are 3-0, Texans are 0-3, and Deshaun Watson goes 19-27, 264 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 INT, and then David Johnson, 13 for 23, a rushing touchdown on the ground. Randall Cobb has 1 receiving touchdown, 4 for 95. Will Fuller has 1 receiving touchdown, 4 for 54. Not much else from anyone else on this Texans offense, but it definitely did make me sweat a little bit and maybe make me cuss Mike Tomlin and the Steelers for having this thing even close to begin with.
Let's just go through the early 90s hits, right? CNC Music Factory.
Mm-hmm.
Make you sweat.
Gonna make you sweat.
Right. And why did Houston make Steelers sweat and Steeler fans sweat? Because the Steelers, it's the same as always, Cease. If the rush doesn't get home, there's going to be someone open. So Deshaun Watson can evade the rush. I mean, the touchdown to Randall Cobb was just way too easy. The touchdown to Will Fuller was a good throw and a good play. David Johnson had a walk-in touchdown. But still, this doesn't feel like a good offense or an offense that's getting anywhere near what you should be able to get out of Deshaun Watson. And the Steelers had some vulnerabilities to be exploited. but it wasn't enough for a win. And the Steelers defense really held them down. Watson's fantasy result was middling. You're still not that happy, but you knew you were going to have a tough 3-game stretch to open. By the way, it's Minnesota next week. So next week's that week that you're really worried if the Houston offense continues to look discombobulated. David Johnson got the touchdown, but you see no emphasis on him in the passing game whatsoever. Why did you trade for him if you're not going to use him in the passing game, especially whenever you need to slow down the opposing pass rush? If you were cautious about Will Fuller, again, you missed out on a touchdown, but you didn't miss out on a massive Will Fuller game. And you also didn't miss out a game where Watson was just peppering him with targets like he did Hopkins in the past, like he did Fuller in week 1. So we're still looking for some sort of pattern here. Cooks barely did anything. Akins barely did anything. Cobb was the one who really emerged here against the Steelers. May make you give Cobb a chance next week. You're a little more comfortable playing Fuller, assuming things don't go south in practice or something after he made it through a game healthy. The Texans, though, Texans and Minnesota cease 0-3. The loser just gets dumped off the back of the ship.
It's like there's an emphasis on spreading it around, which I understand to a certain point of view, but there are times when you just need to throw to that dude. And when you have that dude, when you have chemistry, Bloom, what have I always said about this show, right? I said, even if we didn't get along behind the scenes, we'd still do the show because we have chemistry. On-air chemistry is incredibly difficult to find. Chemistry on the football field, incredibly difficult to find. And when you have it, you feed it. Find someone for Deshaun. Okay. So, by the way, you mentioned CNC Music Factory, Bloom. Yeah. I was thinking of Freedom, the rapper that was on CNC Music Factory, because he paid the price to control the dice. He's more precise to the point he's nice. Something like that. Yeah. I think I remember that. Yeah, I would embarrass myself further, but let's move on and talk about that girl is poison. That's Ben Roethlisberger, poison in our veins. And, well, that big butt and a smile. Crooked smile, crooked nose, and everything. There's Big Ben, 23 of 36, 237 yards, 2 touchdowns, no INTs. Eric Ebron caught passes, 5 for 52 and a touch. Juju Smith-Schuster, you want to talk about just fun to watch Juju play, 4 for 43 and touch. And then you look at Deontay Johnson, got nothing today. So interesting. James Washington, 5 for 36. Chase Claypool, the big play last week, big-ish play, 1 for 24, not much else. James Conner, 18 for 109, 1 rushing touchdown. You picked up Benny Snell. You thought you had something? Nope. Anthony McFarland, active for this game. He gets 6 for 42, Bloom. Also a catch for 7 yards. I have a feeling we'll always continue to debate Steelers running backs. I'm excited by Anthony McFarland. We'll see what more he can do, but this is James Conner's world, and we're just living in it. I'm a squirrel trying to get a nut to move your butt to the dance floor. So, what's up?
It's in there. There's things that you were supposed to remember,
jams, right? Jock jams, you just put it on repeat. Jock jams,
right. Things that we were supposed to remember to do this week, though. Cease, we forgot, but we can remember the words to these songs. It was kind of a familiar song for the Steelers. They came out, they were slack against an inferior opponent at home. Then you saw Roethlisberger start to come alive. Deontay Johnson, by the way, concussion in this one, so we'll see if he's ready. Tennessee. That's going to be a fun tilt, although Tennessee is coming in banged up for sure. David DeCastro, Steelers less banged up on the offensive line. Running game starts working better. See, so I agree with you with McFarland. We're going to see more of him. Snell got some goal line look, or a look at least. At least he's getting to touch the ball again after that key fumble against Denver. But it is Connor, and I think with this offensive line and this team, the defense helping getting them in great game scripts for Connor. Connor is still the same guy we saw, not special, not going to add touches. Real interesting to see how the free agent market's going to receive him. Don't think he's going to remain a Steeler. But the numbers there are coming, especially with his very competent additions in the passing game. Roethlisberger was just okay. Again, same old song with Roethlisberger, some really inspired throws and some times that you wish he wasn't so confident in his own abilities. The touchdown to Juju Smith-Schuster was a busted coverage. Houston will give us those sometimes. James Conner's showing that the Texans' run defense not very good. Again, Dalvin Cook gets to go at them, coming off of his best game of the year. Here's what I like, Cease. Here's what I like. Here's how it wasn't the same old song. 4th down on the Texan side of the field. 4th quarter, game's on the line. Short, and they throw. And they make it. Tomlinson lets Roethlisberger throw with the game on the line. So that is good. See, it doesn't feel like this is a 3-0 Steelers team that's triumphing and we've gone, but 3-0 is 3-0, man. And Tennessee next week, again, we'll talk about how Tennessee isn't necessarily at full strength coming into this game. Tennessee will not be an easy out. Looking forward to it.
Life's all about confidence, even if it's fake confidence. Like, okay. Life's all about responding to great coaching. Some segues are better than others, but the 49ers 36, the Giants 9, San Francisco without everybody goes Nick Mullins 25 at 36, 343 yards, 1 touchdown, no INTs. They love Nick Mullins, Bloom.
Mm-hmm.
They always have, and there were rumblings at one point that he may replace Jimmy Garoppolo. Garoppolo turned it on. Whatever is whatever. Let's talk about those runners. And Jerick McKinnon, 14 for 38, 1 rushing touchdown. Brandon Ayuk, they got him involved as a runner. He had 5 for 70 as a receiver, the rookie from Arizona State. Also 3 for 31 and a rushing touchdown. Jeff Wilson Jr., 12 for 15 and 1 rushing touchdown. You had him as a what the heck flex. That paid off. By the way, McKinnon had 3 for 39 as a receiver, 3 for 54 and a receiving touchdown for Jeff Wilson Jr. Again, what the heck flex. That paid off. Kendrick Bourne, who we've talked about, 4 for 63 in this one. Jordan Reed, oh, man.
I know.
Oh, trying to get 2 feet down to the back of the end zone. Hurt again. But the 49ers responded. I mean, down everybody. You could reverse this score, and you could be like, well, 49ers, they just, that's what they're doing in Denver, by the way. But look at the 49ers and how they responded to their coach.
Yeah, this team is still very much focused, even though they've suffered key losses on both sides of the ball. Again, no Mostert, no Kittle coming into this one. Brandon Ayuk makes a big splash. I think one of the things we'll take away from this game is we're targeting the Giants' defense. We want to start players against the Giants' defense. Rams next week against the Giants' defenses. Most plays work against the Giants' defense. I know the Bears only put up 17 on them. That's a whole other story we'll get into on this very interesting day. But Brandon Ayuk, you see the speed, you see him, looking like what we want N'Keal Harry to look like, basically, as far as after the catch, the speed he brings with his size. The backfield split, Jeff Wilson was the more valuable play, of course, with his contributions in the passing game, and he got the short yardage touchdown. McKinnon also got a short yardage touchdown. McKinnon had a receiving touchdown wiped off the board by penalty. McKinnon looked like the better player, even though Wilson was the more valuable player. It's probably all moot. Raheem Mostert hopefully be back next week. Philadelphia, by the way, will be that game, a Sunday night game. But San Francisco, you saw also, like you said, Jordan Reed getting hurt. Ross Dwelly comes in. And gets 4 catches. Remember, he had 2 touchdowns in place of Kittle last year. So we'll think about that. And also, are we going to get Jimmy Garoppolo back next week? Maybe you don't rush Garoppolo back from that ankle. Mullins running the offense well. You don't want to take the Eagles too lightly. But this game, Cease, it's going to be tough in the NFC. There's more spots than playoff-worthy teams will see. But San Francisco knows that they have no margin of error in a division with Seattle, the Rams, and Arizona. They may end up 4th in the division. They could still make the playoffs. And it just shows the massive gap to the Giants. And we're going to see this all throughout the year in the NFC. There's going to be the teams that are legitimate teams in the NFC and the teams they just get to warm up against.
Warm up against or cool down because it's very cold with the Giants. Daniel Jones goes 17 to 32, 179 yards, no touchdowns, 1 INT. Darius Slayton, 3 for 53. Golden Tate, 5 for 36. Damian Ratley, 1 for 29. Evan Ingram, 3 for 22. If you're relying on any of these guys,
right.
Why am I talking about the Giants? Oh, yeah, Devontae Freeman played, 5 for 10. Wayne Gallman, 4 for 7. I mean, it's just awful. And again, this is a 49ers defense without key players. Star and nay superstar players up front.
Yeah, would have known it though. But see, I guess you just look at this and you think, well, Joe Judge is going to get a lot of practice at coaching. Making decisions, right. Seeing what happens. Just it's a red shirt year for the whole Giants team, basically. They're going to show up, they're going to play the games, but they're not a good team. And I think that this is a good moment to bring up a fantasy analysis. Barkley goes down and Shepard goes down, and we're thinking to ourselves, okay, narrow target tree. Who do we like? Do we like Ingram? Do we like Golden Tate? Do we like Darius Slayton? None of the above.
None.
Sometimes losing these key pieces of an offense makes it so the whole pie shrinks, and it's just not as interesting. Slayton had a fumble in garbage time in this one just to punctuate everything. San Francisco's defense without Nick Bosa, without Dee Ford, without Solomon Thomas, without Richard Sherman, Emmanuel Mosley goes down in this game. And again, it doesn't really make a difference. This is not a good Giants offense, not a good Giants team. It does not get that much easier next week. Aaron Donald facing him out in LA. And, Cease, if it's a team at MetLife Stadium, whether we're talking Darnold or we're talking Jones, you just kind of feel sorry for these guys. They get drafted into a situation where 3 or 4 years into their career, how are we really going to know how they're progressing? With all the change around them,
Right.
with the forces around them, keeping things from getting settled down. It's just sad to see these quarterbacks not get, I think, a fair chance to develop.
Yeah, and it's almost like we're talking about Sam Darnold.
Right.
And Drew Lock.
Yeah.
Continuity does a world of wonders. Hey, Josh Allen's doing really good. Why? Because they've kept it together. Continuity. Bengals and Eagles enter this game 0-2, and you're thinking someone's going to leave with a win, unless they don't, and they flipping ties. Sorry, Joe. They go into overtime, and it was one of those games, Bloom, where I'm like, I don't want this game to go to overtime, mainly because I felt bad for Joe Burrow. 23-23, stupid blankety blank tie, but Joe Burrow, Malik Jackson killed him.
Yeah.
Malik Jackson ended him multiple times, and Burrow kept getting up. He might have to miss a play. Here comes in Ryan Finley for a handoff, but Burrow was getting crushed, killed. Please, Joe Burrow is so precious. Please protect him, Cincinnati. You finally got something. You got something to be excited about at the quarterback position. Please protect him. And he was sacked 8 times, hit 20 times it seemed like. I don't even know.
Too many times.
312 yards, 2 touchdowns, no INTs. Tyler Boyd goes 10 for 125. Gio Bernard 3 for 55. We got the word that John Ross was a healthy scratch, and here comes T. Higgins in the lineup, 5 for 40 and 2 touchdowns. AJ Green 5 for 36. You know where that is. On Tate, couple catches, 29 yards. Joe Mixon 17 for 49 and then 2 for 16 as a receiver. So Higgins the big day. Burrow statistically nice day. But man alive, Bloom, they're getting him killed. They're getting him killed, man, and I don't want to see that. Not for that kid.
Cease, I know you hate ties.
I hate him.
And is this an outmoded reference? What they used to call it, like kissing your sister?
Yeah, and I always wondered, who is doing that? Anyway.
Exactly. But look, sometimes people in the chat room, why does the NFL still have ties? I know that you agree with that take, right, Cease?
Yeah.
Sometimes no one deserves to win. Really, that was this game. No one deserved to win this game.
Yep.
Neither team deserved to win. Burrow is going to continue to give you fantasy value because of the volume, as long as they get him out of the meat grinder. Ugh. The biggest development here is AJ Green. I think the Bengals know. See, the franchise tag looked like it was them maybe doing him a little dirty after everything he's given them.
Right.
Maybe it was a parting gift, because he's not really playing up to the price. He's not going to. T. Higgins, the big body, you see the red zone chemistry. You thought maybe be Auden Tate after what we heard this summer, but Higgins was out for a lot of that. The point is Burrow knows how to put that ball placement there. Burrow looks fine whenever he's not getting stepped on, crushed under bodies. But that's what's happening a lot. Joe Mixon, you wonder what you have with Mixon now. You're taking your 12 points, your 10 points, you're okay, but when's the big game going to come? They're still using Giovanni Bernard, who looks functional in the pass game. Mixon, and it's a tough run defense. Jacksonville next week, by the way. Drew Sample, toss him back. Coming soon to a shut him down segment near you. John Ross, will he get traded to the Patriots? Maybe to the Eagles. Will he just get released? I don't know, but I think it's probably over. It wasn't just Marvin Lewis holding back John Ross. And, Minshew versus Burrow next week. Let's just have both these guys get healthy. Oh, by the way, Tyler Boyd with a big game. With the volume comes Tyler Boyd, of course. But Cincinnati, you almost got that first win for Burrow. But at the same time, whether it's the defense, whether it's the offensive line, they're just critical points of failure. But this is not where we're used to seeing the Eagles in the Doug Peterson era in a home game. And,
Right.
they just got thumped by the Rams. Now the Bengals come to town, and it's as satisfying as a tie should be for the Eagles.
Yeah, and with Carson Wentz, like the magic's gone.
Yeah.
There were still some plays where you're like because I so root for Carson Wentz. I so want him to enjoy a Super Bowl run like Nick Foles had with the Eagles. And so it's me. I'm like hoping and projecting like I saw a little tiny bit of magic, and it's like just a total trick. It's an illusion. It's not there. There's no magic. It's gone. Wentz goes 225, 1 touchdown, 2 INTs. Greg Ward 8 for 72 and a touchdown. Zach Ertz 7 for 70. Dallas Goddard banged up in this one. Bloom, let me know how bad it is. Not much else from anyone. Miles Sanders 18 for 95 on the ground. By the way, Carson Wentz did have a rushing touchdown. So again, glimpses, maybe thoughts, hopes, dreams that there could be some sort of spark there with Wentz, and quickly dashed in a tie against a Bengals defense. You should have doubled your score. You should have dropped 46 on this Bengals defense, and they just can't.
Well, see, we saw it last year, too. The Eagles are in a situation in the NFC least that they just need to match the Cowboys and then beat them. If they can just lose to the teams the Cowboys lose to and beat the teams the Cowboys beat, they can still get in the playoffs. And then as we see with these Eagles teams, once they get in the playoffs, you never know. They always play above their head in the playoffs. I'm sorry, I don't think Dallas is going to tie with Cincinnati. This is a crucial game. Look at the standings, whatever. To keep pace with Dallas, you can't have a tie with Cincinnati. I think they know this. And with Wentz and this offense, we were saying coming into this game, okay, you had to face the Rams last week. You faced a tough Washington defensive line with a banged-up offensive line. Let's see what you do against Cincinnati. Everything Cleveland did worked against them. Nothing really worked here. Wentz had some terrible interceptions. There's just something about a Wentz interception, Cease. It's like the team takes harder or something. I don't know what it is. You can feel it, though. You can feel it. When Wentz throws an interception, there's not a resilience to the team. There's this sense of, come on, again? His fantasy result was still okay, but as you said, Cease, the magic's gone. Now, we can also say, look, Dallas Goddard goes out early with an ankle injury. I mean, he went out early and was ruled out. I'll be surprised if we see him Sunday night against San Francisco. Deshaun Jackson goes out with a hamstring. You already had Jalen Reagor out. Alshon Jeffrey maybe will be back in a week or two. So we're already, what was it, like week 10, week 11, week 12 last year? We're saying, geez, who's he going to throw to? Who does Wentz have except for his tight ends? Now he doesn't even have one of his tight ends, and his best receiver is Greg Ward. Okay, I mean, we're going to look at Greg Ward as a pretty prominent target next week. I don't think they're going to rush Jeffrey back. I don't think we're going to see Deshaun Jackson. Don't think we're going to see Goddard. Of course, Ertz will get his targets. And Miles Sanders still looks good, by the way. Maybe some emphasis on Miles Sanders in the passing game. Remember, they were doing that with him downfield. But, I mean, San Francisco's not a must-win in this whole keep pace with the Cowboys thing because they're a tough team. But this team needs something to hang their hat on. I'm not saying Doug Peterson is on the hot seat at all, Cease. But if this team hadn't won a Super Bowl with the coach they have right now, you'd be saying that coach is on the hot seat. And you just want to see how this team responds for him because, again, you can see this. You can say it's the uphill climb without these weapons, but every team is going to have to do this. Every team is going to have to limp through the season with guys hurt, and the Eagles are just doing it with no grace right now.
I think Fletcher sums it up perfectly in our chat room when he says, the Wentz wins.
Yeah.
That's what it is for the entire team. Titans and Vikings. Vikings showed some spirit. They haven't shown much of it, but they did today. Titans come out on top, though. 31-30, the final score. Ryan Tannehill, 23 of 37, 321 yards, no touchdowns, 1 INT. Bloom, you wanted a little bit more with this banged-up Vikings secondary. Okay, come on, a touchdown, something. Corey Davis, 5 for 69. I mean, you kind of wanted, double that if you put in Corey Davis. It was Khalif Raymond, 3 for 118 on only 3 targets, and you've seen it. You even saw it in the Broncos game, and you saw it last year against the Ravens, Bloom. Like, Khalif Raymond is going to get open, and he's super quick, a former Bronco and, friend of the show. But, like, he'll drop. I think he dropped everything that was thrown at him against the Broncos. But when he catches them, it's for a lot of yards. So 3 for 118. The ultimate, like, what the heck flex. Jonnu Smith, 5 for 61 in this one. Adam Humphries, 4 for 41. Derrick Henry, 2 rushing touchdowns, 26 for 119 on the ground, couple catches, 11 yards as well. So the passing game numbers look fine, 321 yards for Tannehill, but just those assets you started, Jonnu Smith, Corey Davis, you're like, oh, because you thought there would be more.
Yeah, and for the Titans, they're fine with escaping with a win. That's more than enough for them.
Yeah.
But see, Taylor Lewan gets hurt in this one. And you know who replaced him? Ty Sambrailo.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Although, you remember the Gong Show? I mean, if there was a gong out there, they would have gonged him, protecting Tannehill's blind side. Like, get him some help, something, you know. That's rough for this Titans offense. And the Titans offense, I mean, it's pretty incredible that the Titans won this game. But at the same time, it's pretty incredible that this game was close enough that we're saying it's incredible that they won the game. Because Koskowski kicked 6 field goals.
Nailed them all.
He did nail them all. After he missed 5 kicks in the first 2 games of the season, he goes 6 for 6 so they can win this game. But it was like at every turn, the Titans were shooting themselves in the foot, you know? Minnesota's without their top 2 corners, and Tennessee just fizzles out after a turnover. They get a deep ball to Raymond, and they fizzle out in field goal. They throw an interception in the end zone. They squander an interception that they get. You know, they just can't get it done. Now, Derrick Henry can get it done. They were smart. They're like, okay, well, Derrick Henry can finish drives for us. And this is another team where your left tackle's out. A.J. Brown is out. So you're having to cope, and cope they did. And it's okay if you win ugly. If you played Tannehill in this one, looking at the matchup, you're disappointed, but know that Tannehill did what he could. I mean, there were some mistakes he made that I'm sure he'd like to have back, but he did everything he could, and this was a game kind of like the game they beat Kansas City last year, where they didn't necessarily have business winning it, but at the same time, some of that was because of them. They overcame themselves, if you will. We'll see which Steelers. Generally, Steelers are going to play up to good competition. So I don't think they're going to get away with 6 field goals. Ask Kansas City, right? You're not going to get away with just kicking field goals against the Steelers, probably. It was nice to see Khalif Raymond, the passing game star, although that complicates things in what should be a low-volume pass offense, even though it wasn't a low-volume pass offense in this one.
Right.
But for Minnesota, a lot of things went right, but they're a bad team. Bad teams still lose when things go right.
Yeah, that's for sure. Minnesota, 251 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 INTs for Kirk Cousins, and it was a Justin Jefferson day. 7 for 175, the big 71-yarder, 1 touchdown as well. So good job, rookie, and good job doing a lot of that damage on the outside, Bloom. We've talked about Justin Jefferson in the slot. Not on the outside much. So on the outside, he did. Adam Thielen, 3 for 29, receiving touchdown. Kyle Rudolph, receiving touchdown. Dalvin Cook, 22 for 181 and 1 touchdown. Big, huge day, 2 for 18. He was fired up. Dalvin Cook was willing this team on his back to victory, and, well, they fell short.
Cook was fantastic. And again, you're looking at the Tennessee as something to exploit. And you're looking at Dalvin Cook as somebody that, as long as the game script doesn't go south from the beginning, he's going to have a chance to put up big games like this. Even though he wasn't used much as a receiver, as I think he should be used. It was really all about Justin Jefferson. Jefferson even was responsible for a pretty ugly pick in this one. Actually, a pick 6. That was wiped off because Jadeveon Clowney just used it as an opportunity to get a shot in on somebody. Hey, defenders, I get it. I mean, sometimes it's nice to have that clean shot. But Jefferson, that was in the middle of this breakout game for him. And you heard murmurs, you heard little whispers that Jefferson, maybe the team was going to try to get him more involved. So when you're making your waiver wire claims or your DFS lineups, if you said, let's throw Jefferson in. Let's add him to my end of my bench. You were happy, and maybe that helps this team turn the corner, although, again, keep in mind, it is the Tennessee pass defense. Cousins did have that touchdown to Thielen, but you're really flirting with a low floor when you're playing Thielen now. And this was a game, so we've had some garbage time game scripts. We've had a game script where they needed to pass more, Cousins threw 3 touchdowns in this one. Thielen still a very modest producer. Again, next week, Houston, Minnesota, 0-3, loser gets voted off the island.
Unless they tie. Remember that. They could always tie. Eesh. Okay. At least you don't have Mitchell Trubisky as your quarterback. Although you have Dan Quinn as your head coach for now. We have a countdown going on with the Jets. We have a countdown with the Falcons. Nah, not the Broncos. I don't think. But anyway, there's a countdown going on with like which coach is going to be fired first in this one. Okay, Dan Quinn, you're at the top of the list. What did I see? Field Yates tweet out, Bloom, that in NFL history over the last 20 years or whatever the number is,
right.
No teams lost 15-point leads in the fourth quarter, 2 in the same season. Atlanta's done it back-to-back
weeks. It's a talent, Young Wei Koo's talent is onside kicks. Atlanta's talent, blowing leads in the fourth quarter.
Okay, 30-26, the final score. The Bears get the win, and they bench Mitchell Trubisky after he goes 13-22, 128, 1 touchdown, 1 INT. Enough. Although Trubisky led the way on the ground with 1 carry, 45 yards, matching David Montgomery on 14 carries for 45 yards. Anyway, here comes Nick Foles, 16-29, 188, 3 touchdowns, 1 INT in this one. Allen Robertson, 10 for 123 and a touchdown. Jimmy Graham, 6 for 60 and 2 touchdowns. Anthony Miller, 2 for 41 and a touchdown. So some life, an injection of excitement with Nick Foles in the lineup, Bloom. And when you're getting excited about Jimmy Graham, I guess you're doing something, right?
Yeah, what a bizarre game. What a bizarre game.
Crazy.
How many times ever, and will there ever be another time that we'll say, team moves to 3-0 after benching their starting quarterback?
Right.
That's the kind of year it's been for the Bears.
Headline. Yeah.
They're 3-0. They benched their starting quarterback, and it was the right move. And it wasn't even because of Nick Foles, really, that they won. The Falcons had to do some special things to lose this game, okay? Because they jumped out 26-10. And while the score was 26-10, or maybe one of these came after, but I think it was while the score was 26-10, Anthony Miller dropped a touchdown on 4th down. And Allen Robinson had a touchdown wrestled away from him by Darqueze Dennard, replacing A.J. Terrell out with COVID. So the Bears kept shooting themselves in the foot in this game. The Bears couldn't even get their comeback started with Nick Foles, and somehow they still won. I mean, I guess they could have won going away. Trubisky was moving the ball early, but just not finishing drives. He did have a big run on a touchdown drive. Graham, and it's going to be the same as it was with Graham as when he was in Seattle. It's the play at the goal line. Is just Graham's going to turn around and post up. Basically, it works. So we're going to keep doing this up and down thing with Jimmy Graham. I don't think he's an essential guy to hold on your fantasy team, but if you have to throw someone in any given week, Jimmy Graham could be fine. Allen Robinson is fine. So he gave you that resounding stat line. If you were going into this week thinking, it's Atlanta, I'm going to play him, but man, if he doesn't do it this week, he did it this week. Again, including a touchdown taken out of his hands in the end zone. Foles comes in after Trubisky is benched, which I think is almost like a relief, right, Cease? It's just a relief for Chicago.
Right.
Even if Foles is as bad as Trubisky, they're just so tired of it, I think. I think the players are so weary. They're just carrying this weight. Trubisky's always going to be Trubisky. Foles is going to be Foles. Foles is going to go out there and let it all hang out. They missed a 2-point conversion, too. I mean, just at every step along the way, they were making this harder on themselves. And the Falcons just kept giving them chances. Also, by the way, Tariq Cohen goes down with what looks like a torn ACL, which sucks. But
at least he got his money.
Yeah, he got his bag. So, we're relieved for him. And then Anthony Miller. And Anthony Miller is a guy that we're never going to necessarily trust in our lineup just because of how inconsistent he is and how it seems like the Bears are also very wary about leaving him in. And sometimes they feel like they need to send him a message. He gets another game-winning touchdown. 2 game-winning touchdowns. 2 thrilling game-winning touchdowns for Anthony Miller 3 weeks into the season. Again, if you're a Bears fan, I mean, you're like, we'll take it. 3-0. It's because we're facing Atlanta. It's because we're facing the Giants. It's because we're facing the Lions, although the Lions say not so fast. Not so fast. We'll get to that. Next week, the Colts. So no cheap wins probably coming against the Colts.
Falcons side, and again, Dan Quinn. We'll see you when we see you.
Talk. Tick. Talk. Tick,
Matt Ryan,
tick,
19-38. Just do that while I read this entire thing.
Right.
238 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 INT. Calvin Ridley, 5 for 110. Okay, you thought there might be a little bit more there. Olamide Zaccheaus, I think I got that right. 4 for 41. Brandon Powell, 3 for 27. Nobody started him. You started Russell Gage, 2 for 26. That's what you got. Hayden Hurst, 1 for 1, but the all-important one is a touchdown. So there you go. Todd Gurley, 14 for 80 and a touchdown. Brian Hill, 9 for 58 and a touchdown. Also a key drop that could have kept the chains moving as a reception. 1 for 22 as a receiver. So splitting in the backfield, throwing to the tight end, featuring Calvin Ridley. Not enough to win.
Cecil, let's talk about magical thinking, right?
Okay.
Because we usually think about magical thinking as something positive, right?
Yes. Well,
magical
actually, synapses that fire together wire together. It's simple chemistry.
Yeah.
And also what you project. It's what I always tell my kids. Like, negative energy will build negative energy. Positive energy will build positive energy.
Yes.
So whatever you think about, you bring about.
Sure.
So magical thinking, Bloom, it's just thinking because thinking is magical.
Yes, we're all magical. This is why
manifesting.
Absolutely, and this is why. See, I could do a rant here on why we should not. The whole Santa Claus thing is messed up because we teach kids there's magic, and then we tell them when they're like they ever say, no, there's no such thing as magic. It was just your parents. But your parents doing those things because they love you, that's magic. We are still magical. The magic on this is black magic because the Falcons, I think it's in their heads now, Cease. And I think that you need a ritual sacrifice, right? It's a ritual sacrifice to release the bad juju. I mean, that's what you have to do with Dan Quinn at this point. We could easily imagine a different scenario where this team has 2 wins this year and they're feeling pretty good about keeping Dan Quinn. We could imagine a scenario where they won a Super Bowl, But at this point, the infection is fatal of this thinking. Because even without Julio Jones in this game, even Russell Gage going out with a concussion, they still were controlling this game. The defense was coming up with big plays. Grady Jarrett, who also got a little banged up in this one, they had no Dak McKinnon. They were missing key guys all throughout the defense. Foye Oluokun, who was making plays all over the field last week, he was out. Terrell was out. Ricardo Allen was out in this game. And they were playing a winning game. And then they just do what they do, It's the pattern is too unmistakable to deny it now. Calvin Ridley's unstoppable. Love watching him play right now. He's an artiste. Hayden Hurst had a touchdown, and then they didn't really look back to him, which was kind of surprising. So Cease is talking about the Giants. If we look ahead next week to the Green Bay game, Monday night, we have to watch the Falcons on Monday night, really? Anyway, if there's no Julio and there's no Gage, does that make it, Hurst is going to smash, or it's just going to be like this again? You did see the running game look pretty good. Brian Hill, Wyoming Cowboys baby, with a nice long touchdown run, and really showing that this isn't really too much shade at Gurley. It's saying that Hill's game has made progress. I think you got something closer to a committee than what you were picturing. And Hill has pulled away from Ito Smith and pulled away from Quadri Olsen, who can't even get healthy. But again, Gurley got a touchdown in the second half, so that you're still okay if you played him. You had the game script you want for Gurley. Twice in a row now you've had game scripts you want for Gurley. The numbers are just okay. Not what you were looking for when you drafted him in these games. Because as I talked about a lot in the preseason, this schedule was set up for Gurley to get off to a hot start. The Falcons should have gotten off to a much better start, but the offense fizzled. And you could just feel the team go into a shell. You could just feel them. Even they were getting break after break from the Bears. Their defense was bailing them out. Darqueze Dennard bailing them out. Mm-hmm. Anthony Miller bailing them out. And didn't matter. They were just going to go into that shell. They were the armadillo. They were going to turn into roadkill. Next up, Green Bay.
Yeah. How crunchy do you want to get on this show, Bloom?
I love getting crunchy.
Yeah, we
crunchier
could
the
totally, better. Like, I know Joe Rogan sits around, smokes weed in Texas and has guests on, but we should do shrooms and then get crunchy with this type of stuff, because quantum physicists believe that we are coherent light.
Yeah.
Because everything is energy, right? Everything is vibration and what you feel. Okay, well, we're just light that understands. We're energy that has consciousness. So remember that. No shrooms necessary. But although you're watching Jets Colts, maybe
you need it. That's what would make that game entertaining if you're a Jets fan.
Right. Joe, we're not suggesting anything. We're just saying, if that's your thing, I love living in Colorado where we treat people like adults. Let's talk about Colts and Jets. 36-7. I don't even smoke weed. 36-7. The final score. Sam Darnold. Oh, he's probably dabbing up, right? Got to deal with that pain, girl. Got to deal with that pain. It's the brain pain, coach. 3 picks. Just Adam Gase in general. Oh, God. Do we have to talk about the Jets? Braxton Berrios, 4 for 64 and a touchdown. Kalen Ballage, 5 for 44. Chris Herndon, 3 for 21. Frank Gore, 15 for 57. Still love Frank Gore, man. But this Jets team is reeling. Adam Gase is likely to get fired very, very soon. Perhaps even after the Broncos game on Thursday night. If they lose to the Broncos, and, well, they might not, Bloom.
I know, that's the scariest thing to consider, right? You just feel. He's my first note on this game for the Jets. Cough, hack, die. I mean, just euthanasia. If euthanasia was legal for a football team, just end the season, right? Poor Sam Darnold. And Sam Darnold's making mistakes, pick sixes and everything. But man, no one's going to succeed in this situation. No one's going to succeed in this situation. Nobody. Braxton Berrios will succeed, I guess, and get a touchdown early. Like, what? The Jets are going to score? And then that was basically it. And Thursday, do you at least get to do the show with us Thursday night, Cease, or is it because the Broncos are on? No,
I'll be doing
my. We can't even rescue you. Well, I don't know. So Jets Broncos, I cannot remember a more pointless game in Week 4, and that is saying a lot.
Whew. Saying a lot, talking about Phillip Rivers. What it was, 400 touchdowns. What was the number? I just saw it on the screen.
Yeah, 400.
Like, okay.
Mo Alley Cox.
Get me away from this. And then Terry Bradshaw was making a joke about Mo Alley Cox's name. I was like, seriously, are we 12? By the way, we're past that joke on the show, maybe. But T.Y. Hilton, 3 for 52. Mo Alley Cox, what a great name. I'm Terry Bradshaw, 3 for 50 and a touchdown. I still can't stand Terry because of when I gave him his birthday card when I met him at the Walmart in Brighton so he could sign his book for me. And I'll never forgive him, Bloom. I'll never forgive him because there was a rather attractive woman in line in front of me. And so when Terry signed my book at the Walmart in Brighton and I gave him a birthday card because it was like the week of his birthday, he wouldn't stop staring at that girl's backside as she walked away. So, I got my book signed by Terry Bradshaw. I should just burn it. It's book burning, right? There we go. Anyway, let's. Do we have to talk about this? Colts, whatever. Jonathan Taylor, touchdown, blah, blah, blah. We're going beyond the box score. Yeah. Here we go, Colts. Thank you.
Well, as long as the Colts control a game, you're going to see Phillip Rivers throw 20-25 passes. Nobody from the passing game is going to be a good play. At least T.Y. Hilton showed signs of life. Alley Cox, if you left him in, Jack Doyle's no threat. I think that they have to keep him involved in the passing game like they have been. Naeem Hines did a little bit. PPR, he was at least a 10-point play. Actually, Jordan Wilkins looks like he's as good as Jonathan Taylor. I mean, I'm just saying, like when he's running the ball. And that's more to talk up Wilkins than talk down Taylor. The Jets are going to have a stout run defense. So it wasn't a great day for Taylor, but at least he finished. And that was it. Pittman, Pascal, there's just not going to be enough to go around for these guys when the Colts are cruising. And again, next week, and this was one, there's the fantasy poor outcome of when it's just too easy for a team. When your defense is scoring 2 touchdowns, it's right. Too easy. That's why it was a little bit underwhelming. Again, we'll see them against the underwhelming 3-0 Bears next week.
Yeah, how can you feel good about this if you're whatever. Chargers and Panthers. 21-16 the final score, and Teddy and those Panthers are 1-2. Chargers now 1-2. Interesting. Teddy Bridgewater, 22 of 28, 235 yards, 1 touchdown, no INT, no Christian McCaffrey, still problems, Bloom. I'm not going to say no problem. No. But you did see Mike Davis with 13 for 46 and then 8 for 45 in a receiving touchdown. Teddy's lone TD toss of the day. DJ Moore, 2 for 65. Robbie Anderson, 5 for 55. You thought more Curtis Samuel? Maybe 4 for 45. That was it. Nothing else from anyone else but a W for Matt Rule's team. His first one of his career.
Barely. Really, barely did they win this game. And the transitive property of NFL wins and losses really messes you up, Cease, right? Because last week, this Chargers team took the Chiefs to overtime and really were the better team during regulation. And the Panthers, maybe they're not as bad as the Jets, all right? But they're one of the worst 6 or 8 teams in the league. I mean, it's by design. They're overhauling the roster. They're putting in new coaches, new systems. Chargers thinking, okay, well, if we can hang with the Chiefs, we can hang with anybody. With Justin Herbert, the rookie, bringing life in the offense. No. And Teddy Bridgewater, this is more his style of game, right? Nip and tuck, but you're playing with the lead. You play it safe, high efficiency. Not necessarily making big things happen in the downfield passing game, but not making any big mistakes. And without Christian McCaffrey, Melvin Ingram was also out for this one, by the way. A little bit of a break for him, for Teddy going into this one. What you saw was Mike Davis, actually. Mike Davis is solid. Mike Davis is a solid NFL running back. Maybe he's not quite starting quality, but it's exactly what he's showing you. He can be very competent when he is put in. And what's really funny is because of this game script being tighter, they were able to really feature Davis as a receiver in a way they weren't doing with Christian McCaffrey. But Davis ends up putting up really nice numbers if you plugged him in, and it makes you feel better about playing Davis going forward. Otherwise, because Davis did so much of the heavy lifting, including in the passing game, scoring the rushing touchdown, Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, Curtis Samuel got 4 carries, so a little bit more. But if the Panthers are going to lead, and that's where you say, okay, well, if the Panthers are going to lead, we're not as worried about that. But in this game, they were in the lead, so the passing game didn't produce those big numbers. And then we'll see what they do next week against Arizona. So he's going into this week, I'd say Arizona is going to have a cakewalk. Now, give us some more to think about.
More to think about. And Justin Herbert, plenty to think about. And what's funny about Herbert, Bloom, is even on the plays where he kind of improvises, right? Keeps a play alive, goes out to his right. He's still robotic. Yeah. You know what I mean? But he's a robot who's been programmed to do that, and that's what he does. So even if it's on the fly, it's still very programmed. But that's okay, because some of these throws that he's making are high difficulty throws. So we're going to praise the rookie and what he's been doing, not winning, but in what he's been doing with this team. 330 through the air, 1 touchdown, 1 INT. Keenan Allen goes 13 for 132 and a touchdown. Austin Eckler, 11 for 84. We're not going to check down the run. Oh, wait, unless we do. 12 for 59 and a rushing touchdown there. Joshua Kelly, 8 for 43 on the ground, 2 for 9 as a receiver. You wanted a little bit more there. Hunter Henry, 5 for 50. And I think that extended play one I was talking about, Bloom, was to Jalen Guyton, if memory serves. So, again, watch it. He extends it, and then he's like, super robot, I must throw this pass. But it's a good pass. High difficulty as well. Mike Williams, 1 for 17. So, some good stuff from Eckler. You wanted some good stuff from Allen. You wanted more from Joshua Kelly, too much tequila. And then Justin Herbert gets you 330, but not a win. So, take the good, take the bad, take them both, and there you have Anthony Lynn.
Yeah, right. Anthony Lynn. Cease. Let's get in the head of Anthony Lynn right now, right? What's Anthony Lynn thinking about losing these last 2 games?
I wish I had Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah. He absolutely.
Be safe. He doesn't want 330 through the air. He doesn't want 49 passing attempts.
Nope. Anthony Lynn is looking at these last 2 games and thinking, if Tyrod Taylor is my quarterback, we would be 3-0. I guarantee you he's thinking that. Because Herbert made some mistakes. But Herbert also did things where he added value to the offense. And you're right, Cease. He looks like he's new, like the egg just cracked and he kind of came out of it new to this world.
Right.
Because he's so athletic, but yet sometimes he's so clumsy, right? He's got such incredible arm talent, but sometimes you can tell that there's just that little moment of hesitation in his brain, and he just can't summon up. Last week he was doing a little better, I think, because he was just thrown right into the fire. This week you could see a little more rookie hesitation, a little more rookie mistakes, but he did enough. Folks, watch the play. Whoever it was, Shane Steichen, whoever, who drew this play up for the last play of the game, it worked. It should have won the game. It was a pass over the middle to Keenan Allen, who just botched the lat. I don't know if Eckler botched it, the exchange, or I don't know how it went wrong. But Eckler would have had a walk-in touchdown to win the game if they just completed the lateral. You've seen it many times. Makes you wonder why teams don't try something like that more often instead of a Hail Mary. Because I bet you that you remember Boise State, Cease? I mean, I bet you the chances of those misdirection plays, hook and ladder type plays, is higher than a Hail Mary because it's just execution. So Herbert had an interception. Herbert had a fumble. Okay. But he still keeps this offense viable. Eckler, you get all those dump offs. Now here's your checkdowns. Eckler got the rushing touchdown also. So it wasn't strictly Kelly when they were in close. But again, Kelly's going to be one of these game script dependent running backs. If you think the Chargers are going to lead, if you think the Chargers are going to get the game script on an Anthony Lynn style game, Kelly's probably going to get you 20 carries, get some goal line carries, maybe a touchdown or two. Wasn't there in this one. Keenan Allen got some huge volume in this game, though. Keenan Allen looks good. As long as Herbert's the starter, we're liking Keenan Allen a lot more. Also, Mike Williams went out with a hamstring in this one. So we'll see how that affects this offense. And the very interesting game is they play Tampa Bay next week. And Tampa Bay goes into New Orleans, loses week 1. We'll talk about them in a second. But they should be feeling like they're the best team in their division. But again, when we see how these divisions are going to shake out, playoff spots are probably going to be at a premium in NFC. The Chargers game, how the Saints and the Bucks do versus the Chargers and so on. These are going to be really key points. So I'm circling that one.
K1 brings up the Boise State Statue of Liberty. That was Ian Johnson proposing to his cheerleader girlfriend.
The 2-pointer. It was the hook and ladder extended the game,
right?
And then it goes into overtime, and the 2-pointer wins the game.
Statue of Liberty. There you go. And who was the quarterback with the Z name? He was on the cover of NCAA football because of that play. And you're like, this is a Boise State quarterback? It was Z-Man. Z-Man.
Yeah. I'm not going to. No. My brain is looking at me like a basset hound. I'm not going to get up. I'm sleeping.
It's like when you try to explain dog or algebra to your dog, and they're just like, I got to pee.
Zabransky. Jared Zabransky.
Zabransky, thank you. Tampa Bay 28, Denver 10. Can we just talk about Jared Zabransky instead of Tampa Bay and Denver? Sure. I mean, the Tampa Bay side's fine enough. They're getting it, right? They're getting there slowly but surely. There were some... Oh, boy. I got to tell you stuff off the air. Yeah. There were some morons going on and on the Denver airwaves about how Tampa Bay's offense is not that... There's not all that. And I'm like... Wait a second. Okay. Anyway, morons aside, Tampa Bay's offense is getting it. Are they clicking on all cylinders? No, but they're coming around. Brady with 297, 3 touchdowns, no INTs today. They had 23 points at halftime. They called off the Dogs. 28-10, the final score over Denver, who's terrible. Scotty Miller, 3 for 83. There was more there. Chris Godwin, 5 for 64 and a touchdown. He gets a hamstring. See what the update is on that. Mike Evans, speaking of hamstring, 2 for 2 touchdowns. So there, you'll take that. They did mix in Gronk a little bit more. 7 targets. Remember, he only had 4 in the first 2 games. 6 for 48 on the day. That was their plan. They were mixing in more Rob Gronkowski. O.J. Howard, 3 for 49 in this contest. Ronald Jones, 13 for 53. Leonard Fournette, 15 yards. That was it. So on the ground, it wasn't working. 2.7 a carry for the Buccaneers as a team. But through the air, it worked. No matter what they did, because Tom Brady only sacked a couple of times, Bradley Chubb actually got one. And then Shelby Harris got the other one. So, hey, Denver, when Brady holds onto the ball for 15 seconds, you can get a sack.
Mm-hmm. See, this is like watching one of your kids' teams, when they're going to lose. And for the Broncos, you're just saying, good effort. Yeah. All right. Hey, that was a great play.
Vic Fangio wears face shield. Awesome.
No fines. I'm just here so I don't get fined. That's how overmatched the Broncos were in this one. And the Bucks, it was just easy. You were expecting a bounce back game for Brady. You got the bounce back game. Remember, it was a pass interference in the first game. It was drops last week. And it was Godwin and Evans scoring. As you said, I guess we're not going to have Godwin and Evans healthy in one game from start to finish this year. This is not going to happen. Picking up the slack, Scotty Miller catches a deep ball. Rob Gronkowski gets some catches. O.J. Howard gets some catches, spreading the ball around. This is how this offense should work, though. Brady should have big numbers, and it should be pretty well distributed. We'll see how that looks again next week against Carolina. And no clarity in the backfield whatsoever. None whatsoever. If you thought after what happened last week, it's Fournette's backfield, or they're going to continue to tilt that slider more towards Fournette, less towards Jones. No, it was Jones actually in, I think, the last drive when they were putting the game away. The Fournette, when he breaks the long touchdown last week, Jones was getting some of those touches. So it's just going to be the same as last year. No clarity, nobody that's able to distinguish themselves. a more successful team. So hopefully, you got to give it up for the Denver run defense. They're playing their hearts out. But, just the Tampa running game is going to continue to frustrate us in fantasy football. But after the first week, made it feel a little premature to think about Tampa as a team that could go deep in the playoffs with Brady. Now things are starting to settle down. Again, a good measuring stick against the Chargers, who are a little all over the place next week.
First time Denver didn't allow a 100-yard rusher was today. So there you go.
Yeah.
You really shut down that run game when you're facing Tom Brady.
Yeah.
I'm sure Vic was very happy with the defensive performance against the run. Brandon asks, is it tanking for Trevor time in the Mile High City? Do you know what's going to happen, Bloom?
What?
Here's what's going to happen. When you hear little birdies, and here's your Lassie bark, but I'll tell you who little birdies are. Little birdies are PR guys. Okay. Bottom line. So when you hear someone, and most people that are like insider, I'm an insider, they talk to PR guys and to agents. Very few people, and if I speak of Denver specifically, I think of like Jeff Legwold talks to scouts and coaches. Okay. Others don't. They may break their arms, patting themselves on the back on Twitter about how great they are and how they broke that story about that 7th string guy signing with the Broncos. Yeah. But you're talking to PR guys. So here's what's going to happen, Bloom. When the tipping point happens, and it might be after the Jets game, right? They lose to the Jets. Here's what we're going to hear. John Elway needs to be, put out to pasture in a different position, and he'll get some sort of like vice president of football is this and that, and but he doesn't do anything. So when you hear little birdies, that's how people will spin it. It's not birdies, it's PR guys. The PR guys are setting up the media so that they can talk the way that they want them to talk. When you hear that about John Elway, that's when you go, okay, there is buzz. I don't think I'm saying too much. I might be saying too much.
It's okay.
There is buzz that Fangio will survive this and Elway won't. Okay? Just everyone keep that in mind. This is the buzz. Could be totally wrong. Whatever, right? Totally huge. Whatever. Like, it doesn't matter. Just keep that in mind when you're thinking Fangio's on the list of, like, coaches that are going to get fired. And do we really have to talk about Denver? I mean, Brett Rippon played in this game.
Right.
I just look, you got a phone. Look on the app. Not when you're driving.
Exactly.
By the way, all the people that are driving to work with their kids, Bloom, like dropping off at school, and you said there's no Santa. Yeah. Now they're gonna be mad at us.
Sorry.
You don't bring up Santa on the air. You don't bring up Santa on the air.
Right,
anyway, sorry, kids. There is no hope. For Denver, there's very little hope.
Yeah, there really is little hope. Again, just overmatched. Fant and Hamler did enough. Tim Patrick had a nice touchdown in this one. It's the Jets, so you throw a Judy, throw a Hamler, throw a Fant. Fant, I guess, is still a top 12 fantasy tight end, but yeah, who's going to start on Thursday? Driscoll was benched.
Probably Blake Bortles.
2020, Blake Bortles will start for your football team. Oh, would that lighten the mood?
Oh boy, it's bad. It's really bad. Lions Cardinals. Matt Patricia, don't fire me just yet. Where's my pen? I always feel like I should do this with a pen in my ear because that makes me look smarter, right? I can't even do that. That's how dumb I am. Can't even put a pin in my ear. But Matthew Stafford, 270, 2 touchdowns, no INTs. Kenny Golladay, he's back, 6 for 57 and a touch. Jesse James gets the other touch. You're like, oh, wasn't TJ Hawkinson, 4 for 53. Marvis Jones Jr., 3 for 51. And then Adrian Peterson, 22 for 75 on the ground, and not much else from anyone else. But there's a W in the column next to their name against the once undefeated Arizona Cardinals. This was a spirited game, Bloom.
Yeah, rematch of a very similar not back and forth last week, but it did go down to the wire, and it actually ended up being a tie to open the season. Stafford looked better with Golladay. I think Golladay makes Stafford better out there. And you saw him get a touchdown. You saw Jesse James get a touchdown. If you played Marvin Jones, you played Hawkinson, you got something out of it. But spreading the ball around, and except in the backfield. it's Adrian Peterson. And Adrian Peterson looks like he deserves to be that guy. DeAndre Swift, who's that? Our second-round pick? We don't need to use him.
Nah.
Kerryon Johnson, second-round pick 2 years ago. We got Adrian Peterson. No one told us when we were on the clock in the second round. No one said we could just sign Adrian Peterson off the street. You know? We would have done that if we had known Adrian Peterson was going to be out there. So I'm not saying to pick up and start Peterson against the Saints next week, by the way. But the Lions are alive. And yeah, if you're a Lions fan, you're almost rooting for the loss here because you want to turn the page. But every time they win a game like this, it adds another, year onto Matt Patricia's life. And you can just say, well, now the Galladay's back, the offense, make excuses. Of course, the Saints are making some excuses for their team right now, too. So it could be an interesting excuse fest next week.
Yeah, Kyler Murray, couple touchdowns, 3 picks on this one. You still see some young throws. I guess Bloom is the best way to describe it, where he's just like, I make it that throw, and you're not going to make that throw. DeAndre Hopkins makes every throw, every catch anyway, 10 for 137 on 12 targets. Andy Isabella with both touchdowns, 4 for 47 on the day. Keyshawn Johnson, sideline grab, whatever, not much there. Kenyon Drake, 18 for 73. It was Kyler Murray also with a rushing touchdown, which benefits his fantasy day. And kind of stinks. I'm kind of a little baby Cardinals fan.
Yeah.
Not because they're, had the former Steelers staff all over them, but it's like it's just fun watching Nuke Hopkins, right? It's just fun watching Kyler Murray, and you're kind of, hey, Cliff Kingsbury, something new to the NFL. He's not a total jerk like Chip Kelly, so it's like I kind of want to see this team do good, and then they lose to the Lions.
The Lions that lost to the Bears, although they thoroughly outplayed them. The Lions that got spanked by the Packers. Maybe the Packers are still pretty good. Cease, I'll describe it like this. Matthew Stafford outplayed Kyler Murray today. I mean, the Lions had the better quarterback, so the Lions won. I think when you look at this game, we have to mention the name Jamie Collins, interrupting Kyler Murray's throw on the first interception, making the second interception. So he's a big addition for this team. Jeffrey Okudah, making a nice play on the third interception. He's a big addition for this team. But that's the difference in this game, I honestly think. Murray's still looking good as a runner, still getting a rushing touchdown, which if you have Kenyon Drake, you're okay, I'm tired of this. This isn't funny anymore. If Kyler Murray's going to get all the rushing touchdowns for this team, then what did you get in Kenyon Drake? You know what you got in DeAndre Hopkins. He's just going to keep getting his. This is the offense. Kyler Murray in the red zone. DeAndre Hopkins moving the sticks. And Andy Isabella? See, what if I told you Andy Isabella would score 2 touchdowns on short passes?
Right.
On passes where he's using his quickness, because it's something we didn't see. Yeah. And we didn't see that, like Andy Isabella coming out of UMass. It was UMass, right?
Yes.
It was, the side-by-side comparison with Penny Hart, right? Who's with the Seahawks, by the way. He's on an NFL roster.
That was at the Senior Bowl.
Right. Drink. Penny Hart already understood how to use his quickness and speed to instantly create separation. Andy Isabella, not so much.
Did not know that.
You're seeing it now. And you're seeing Murray trust him in these key situations. 2 touchdowns. And again, not on long bombs with Christian Kirk out. So that's an interesting wrinkle here. But again, Arizona, going into this week, we're thinking, hey, they beat San Francisco on the road, their main rival. They handled Washington the way you should handle Washington. We're feeling good. They did not handle Detroit the way you should handle Detroit. Although, again, we're still figuring out what Detroit's like. We're still figuring out what Carolina is like. So still learning, still much to learn coming out of week 3.
Much to learn and much to watch when we're talking about great games to watch. Our final game we're going to break down in the week 3 recap here on the Audible. It's Cecil, Lammey, Sigmund, Bloom. It's 38-31 Seattle over Dallas. Let's talk about Dak Prescott's side first. 37-57, 472, 3 touchdowns, 2 INTs. Michael Gallup, 6 for 138 and a touch. Cedric Wilson with not 1 but 2 touchdowns, first of his career, 5 for 107 there. Mari Cooper, 9 for 86. So that'll help in PPR leagues. CeeDee Lamb, 5 for 65. You're thinking, Dalton Schultz, 4 for 48 in this one. Zeke with 14 for 34 and 1 rushing touchdown. And then 6 for 24 as a receiver. So Cowboys having to fight all the way through this game and then fall short at the end because you never give Russ too much time. And they gave Russ too much time, Bloom.
Yeah, that's basically the only way that you can beat Russell Wilson this year is score the go-ahead score with 3 zeros on the clock.
Yep.
And, Seattle jumped out to lead the way that Atlanta did last week. Dallas came back. Dallas recaptured the lead. Dallas had a chance at the end to tie this up, but you got the interception there. And you can't really put it on Dak. I mean, the beautiful thing is if you took Dak Prescott, congratulations. I mean, is it him? Is it Josh Allen? Is it Russell Wilson? They were all right picks. But this is a Cowboys team that's going to have to put it all on Dak Prescott's shoulders, which is exactly what you want for fantasy football. Prescott was fantastic. And again, Seattle's defense not fantastic. So Seattle's defense, whether it's Matt Ryan or Cam Newton or Dak Prescott, they're going to be allowing the opponent to put up numbers. It's Ryan Fitzpatrick next week, by the way. That's going to be a fun game to watch, Seattle and Miami. And here's how, for fantasy, Cease, here's how wild it is. Because Cedric Wilson, son of former Steeler and 49er, Cedric Wilson.
Boise State Broncos,
Boise
baby.
State, yeah. And Cedric Wilson is a good reminder. So as a fantasy dynasty player, I often feel like I will continue to be open to rostering a player at the end of my bench until he shows us he can't play, right? Cedric Wilson hadn't shown us he can't play. He just showed us he can't stay healthy, which can be fatal to a player's career also. But he showed us he can play. But here's the thing. He was the best fantasy play on the Cowboys roster of wide receivers this week. And still, Michael Gallup was a great play. Amari Cooper was a solid play. CeeDee Lamb was fine. So a total breakout star. Even Dalton Schultz got like his 4 catches for 50 yards or whatever. Right. So you're not that upset. Amazingly, with a breakout star getting over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, all of the Cowboys receivers still good plays this week. Ezekiel Elliott, not as good of a play. So you have Joe Looney go down here, who was replacing Travis Frederick. Now Tyler Biadasz is the center, 4th rounder, and there's not much room to run. And you don't associate the Seahawks with a run defense, okay? So not a great sign for Ezekiel Elliott and run efficiency. He did get some catches near the end of the game to help bring up his total. And you have to feel like Dallas is clearly the best team in the NFC least. And maybe not on the level of Russell Wilson, but in this offense, you have to feel like in any one-game scenario, Dallas has a chance. They just need to win the games they're supposed to win. Next week against Cleveland, that's a game you're supposed to win, Dallas. So to keep the playoffs more interesting for us, win that game so we can continue to see this team have a chance because, as we saw, Seattle's going to be a team that can go all the way to the Super Bowl. Dallas took them to the very end of the game. Dallas also might not win 8 games this year.
Hey, Bloom.
Yeah.
Breida. And we're going to have to ask our man, Frank Schwab.
Yeah, Frank Schwab.
Because it's Tyler Biadasz.
Oh, Biadasz. Sorry.
Unless I totally mess it up, which could...
No, Badgers. Sorry, Badgers faithful.
The reason why I know that, Bloom, then the only reason I know, and not because I'm dear friends with my scoundrel friend, Frank Schwab, because we're the same. Although I might be a little worse than Frank. Anyway, is because the Broncos needed a center. So, of course, Tyler Biadasz was on my list of Broncos potential players to check out. All right, let's talk about Tyler Lockett. Yes, and thank you. And I still remember him at the Senior Bowl. There's your drink. Shrine game is a bong rip. Sorry, Joe. But
water pipe, Cecil. Water pipe.
Yes, water. It's tobacco use only. When Tyler Lockett was at the Senior Bowl, I was like, he just reminds me of Antonio Brown. Maybe minus some of the other stuff, the bad stuff about Antonio Brown. Today you saw that, and it's 3 years later, whatever, but 9 for 103 touchdowns. And we've seen it before from Lockett, but it's just great to see that connection with Russell Wilson. DK Metcalf, 4 for 110 and 1 touchdown. We also need to note, players change because the one note, DK Metcalf can only run a couple routes. Not now. Not now. That's done. So, you can always tell when someone's not watching. By the way, speaking of dynasty and guys that you should just kind of, show me that you can't play. Like Johnny Berg says here on Periscope, Hollister. Yeah, baby, go Pokes. All right, Jacob Hollister. He's one of those guys. I remember talking to him at the Super Bowl when he was with the Patriots and thinking okay, he's the guy that takes over for Gronk, and he didn't. And then, can't stay healthy, whatever is whatever. He gets a touchdown, whatever. We're not going to be talking about Jacob Hollister on the waiver wire show. Although with tight end being so brutal, Bloom, 0.5%. a sixpence. I don't know. Anyway, let's talk about this. Let's talk about Chris Carson. Oh no. Chris Carson goes down with injury. And by the way, Russell Wilson had 5 touchdowns on the day and 315 yards. MVP is what Russell Wilson's new name is going to be.
Yeah, he's got it, man. He's got it. When Russell Wilson draws back to pass, something in your brain just feels like if it's anything but the most optimal play that could be created, something went wrong. He's that good. Should have been 6 touchdowns. DK Metcalf it was a 62-yard reception. It was supposed to be a 65-yard touchdown. He just pulled up. He thought he had beaten Trevon Diggs, and he didn't have to protect the ball. Yep. And Diggs, a real heady play, one of the reasons the Cowboys had a chance in this game, punching it out from behind through the end zone. And Leon Lett, everybody. Shades of Leon Lett. Mm-hmm. There's some Cowboys trivia for you. And by the way, I want to mention, too, I forgot to mention, Prescott's doing that without Tyron Smith out there, too. So, 3 starters out on the offensive line. Also, Dallas's defense missing their top 2 corners. So, this was a skeleton crew of Dallas Cowboys, and they took Seattle to the end of the game. So, no shame in that. No shame in Tyler Lockett shaking you. And like you said, Cecil, with Antonio Brown comparison, he just separates. He catches touchdowns. He has to be the leader in catching touchdowns with nobody around him. How does that happen? How do you lose someone on a football field?
There's an analytic for that.
Yeah,
defender within 5 yards.
What was it in old Asteroid or Defender, hyperspace, where you just press the button and you go to a whole different place on the screen?
That's what he's got.
That's what he's got. He's got hyperspace. Dallas did force a few 3-and-outs early. Again, Metcalf got the game-winning touchdown. Metcalf also had a long touchdown. They dropped. They could have been the number 1 and number 2 fantasy receivers of the week. Greg Olsen had a nice recovery in this one. Made a real nice play right by the goal line to show that he gets a 1% on the waiver wire show. See, there are some leagues where you can bid $0 and get a player. So it's if nobody else bids on him, I'll take him for $0. It helps people if they decide to spend all their money, like a poet on payday, wait up front. So maybe we can say Jacob Hollister, $0. But it's just really fun. I mean, we do fantasy football and we focus on all of our teams and we bring you strategy and all that stuff. But sometimes, really, you should just sit back and whether it was Wilson and Newton last week, or Wilson and Prescott this afternoon, or tomorrow night, Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. Just enjoy these while we can, while these guys are still healthy, while they're still able to play at or near the top of their talents, while they're on teams that are going to maximize their ability, letting Russ cook. So that was fun. It was a fun way to cap the day. I think Dallas would love to see Seattle again in the playoffs. Try this one out again, see how it goes. It was that close at the end. But Seattle has to feel great right now, Cecil, because they're that team that they do have the magical thinking. They do have the invincibility cloak. It's named Russell Wilson.
It's Russell Wilson. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a wrap for the big show. See, when we do both of them together, because the Broncos. And by the way, we're probably going to do this next week too, because I'll be appearing at a comic book convention next Saturday and maybe Sunday. So what I'll be doing is showing up and reading the box score completely, Bloom, because I will have been at a comic book convention and not parked in front of my couch watching Red Zone. But that's what Monday and Tuesday are for, or rewatching games. We should go over our schedule sometimes, just to be like, this is crazy, because Nick Ferguson, he was texting me last week, and I was like, dude, it's Tuesday. I can't do this. I can't be texting. So anyway,
every minute is precious.
Yes. Every minute is precious with you guys, and certainly appreciate you all out there for watching now on Periscope. And of course on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. Do all those YouTube things, like, comment, share, subscribe, Facebook, give us that thumbs up or give us that love. Thank you. You like us. You really, well, some of you do. You like us. You really, really like us. We appreciate you all. Now go forth and be excellent to each other. He's Sigmund Bloom. I'm Cecil Lammey. We are the Audible. Everyone out there, stay tuned. And as always, stay frosty.